Welcome to the podcast, Narcissist, I'm Asking for a Friend. Karen Maldonado and Tyler King are talking about how narcissists become who they are, common issues that arise when doing life with a narcissist, and some episodes will include special guests. So listen in and learn from two people who have an abundance of experience on the subject.
Hey everyone, we're back for the Narcissist I'm Asking for a Friend podcast. And my name is Tyler King, and I have my friend here,
Karen Maldonado.
Yes, and we're just here bringing you some information and some guidelines, tips, and just advice for things that we have heard from people that are interested in learning more about narcissistic abuse and how that involves relationships. So we want to be able to help you answer these questions and also let you know that we're coming from a Christian perspective. We're not bashing anyone, but we want to help you understand how the narcissist comes about, right? So we want you to know that this isn't just something they're born with, but this is something that develops over time, even from childhood going on into adolescence and adulthood. And for today, we have a great topic for you. And what did you want to discuss today, Karen? Share with the listeners what we have for our topic today.
In our last podcast, we discussed the problems that people experience, it was first of all trying to find a partner that is not a narcissist, and what are the telltale signs that you might want to be looking for, little red flags that are there along the way. We did discuss how some people find themselves in relationship after relationship with a narcissist, and that's because of what we talked about, repetition compulsion. So this is kind of a little recap of what we talked about. Sometimes there's a subconscious thing that goes on, and we're attracted to people that kind of remind us a little bit of the type of tension that was in the relationships we may have had with adults in our lives when we were children. And so that's not always the case that the person is attracted to a narcissist if that's been their story. And not everybody that marries a narcissist has had a difficult parent-child relationship per se, but it is something that can happen, and repetition compulsion plays into that. And then at one point you had said, as we were talking about how, what are some of the signs we can look for? Well, one of the questions I, said you should ask, this person, of course, is how many marriages have they been in, right? How many divorces are there? And, that doesn't necessarily mean that a person that has had more than one divorce, two divorces, that the problem is with them. It could be that they were just really bad at picking a partner. But if a person has multiple divorces, then that could be a red flag. So you want to, there's some investigating that has to go on here.
So that in and of itself could be a red flag. Just the fact that they've had multiple divorces is just something that you need to, it should be something that you should say, let me dig a little bit deeper, do a little bit more investigating. Because even when you're dating, wouldn't you say that's almost like a discovery? You're kind of trying to get to know them, trying to ask questions, really trying to find out information about this person, to see if they're a good fit, if you all are compatible, if you all have the same goals, if you're aligned, going in the same direction. So as far as with dating the narcissist, now, if they've had multiple marriages, is there any difference between if they've been married once before, twice before, three times before, four times before? I mean, have you seen any difference in them? Or if you've seen the multiple marriages, you've noticed they kind of have the same common issues?
Well, the difference might be that one person may be only in one marriage, and then maybe they've been divorced once, and now they're starting to date again. This is the narcissist I'm talking about now. Well, it could be that they were married for 30 years and it took that long for their spouse to get tired of it. So, it doesn't mean because one narcissist has been married 4 times and the other narcissist was married only once before, that the one that's married 4 times is a worse case than the other one. It just means the person that they were with might have been a little bit more patient and, long suffering.
Okay. They weren't able to see the signs either of the.
A lot of times the person thinks it was their fault. So, because that's what they've been told all along. It's your fault, not my fault.
Right, because the narcissists are good at flipping it and making it, you know, that you're the issue, you're the one that needs the therapy, you're the one that's the problem, you're the one that's, you
Absolutely.
know,
And I'm glad you're saying that, Tyler, because I notice I always talk about the spotlight. Like
yes,
a client of mine will say to me, you know, Karen, this was the problem. And then I started to tell him or her about it. But then
right.
they said to me, well, you are too dramatic, you are this, you are
Mm,
that. And then I said, okay, so what they're really doing is some blame shifting. They are actually, I always say, you took the spotlight and you told them this was the problem that you were having with what they were doing.
right,
They didn't want to listen to that because they don't like to hear anybody tell them that they're wrong about anything, that they're at fault with anything. They immediately now tried to take the focus off the problem that you just pointed out and make
right,
this is the new problem. The new problem is not what I just did here. The problem is
right.
your reaction to my behavior. And so they
Mm,
then make you confused because wait a minute, weren't we just talking about what I was upset about? And now they're really upset and raging at me because I have a reaction. So it's really the job almost of the narcissist to cause confusion because you wind up
mm,
shaking your head like what just happened here?
right,
I I I was upset and now they're more upset than I am. Yes, and with a person that has an issue with controlling others, they'll often use their anger to control because they know that if they fly off the handle and get angry and make a ruckus, that the other person, especially a person that's empathic or
right,
more of a peacemaker, they're going to back down. They're going to quiet
right.
up and they're going to be like, okay, I know now I can't, I got to tread lightly with this person. So
Right.
there's a lot of walking on eggshells.
Oh yeah, so that's definitely a great thing to look out for as far as with them being in multiple marriages. Now, I want to know when you're dating or in a relationship with this person or starting and you're trying to get to know them, what should a person look out for when they start talking about the ex-spouse that they had, whether it's the first, second, third, or however many marriages they had? What are some things that they should say? If I hear them say this about their ex spouse, they could potentially be a narcissist.
Well, one thing that narcissists are very good at is calling the ex-spouse a narcissist.
Right,
So, as a matter of fact, in my practice, I'll many times have a phone call from someone saying that they want marriage counseling because they are married to a narcissist and
right,
they need marriage counseling. And so I will immediately, you know, mark that down, take note of it. But it's not until I have them in the office together and I see how
right,
they interact, what their dynamic is between each other, and then with me also, that I
right,
will know who really, if anyone is a narcissist, who it is. Because
right.
generally, the narcissist is more talkative. The
Yes.
other person is more meek and quiet. Um,
Hmm.
the the narcissist is oftentimes somebody that will actually try to tell me how to do therapy,
Right.
and
Wow.
their respect for the profession is, you know, they know more than me. So,
Right.
you know, so that's the thing about the narcissist. It's, you know, nobody can really correct them. And if you want to
Right.
do marriage counseling with um two people and where one is the narcissist, you've got to,
Right.
you know, expect that you want to be honest with them, but
Right.
because they are easily, you know, especially if you want to help the person that they're with,
Right.
to, you
Right.
know, this person is coming to me because they want to get help, right? Um,
Right.
the therapist kind of has to be a little bit careful about how they address different things, because if the narcissist feels like you are telling them that they're the wrong one in this, they're never
Right.
gonna come back again for
Mm.
therapy.
Wow.
I will get there and I will tell them that they're wrong, but I
Right.
will do it in a way where I kind of feed questions and statements or stories, or, you know, I'll read an article or I'll send them some literature to help them understand things, so that
Right.
I'll have them discuss it. So there's a lot of what I try to do is what they call it psychoeducation, where you are, you know, educating the person about, you know, the way that we tick oftentimes, the human
Right.
is how we are. And then also inform them, especially if they came to me to tell me that their spouse was a narcissist, I will
Right.
educate them on what narcissism is. And so I have had it in the past where I have told one person that was insisting that their spouse was a narcissist.
Right.
I just said to them, no, they're actually not a narcissist. I said, a narcissist will actually take over the session. They're very respectful about that, and they're not doing that to me. They also don't try to tell me how to do therapy. So, and these are all things that person is doing.
Right.
So I'm not saying that you are doing it. I'm just telling them, no, they're not doing that. And so for them to read between the lines, if they have any self-awareness, they might get what I'm saying. And
Right.
oftentimes they don't, but they might get what I'm saying.
Oh, wow. So I guess a good question would be, if you're dating a person that you're seeing these signs, would it be fair to ask, hey, I know you've been married, a couple times, 2, 3, 4 times, or ever, even if it was once before. Did they ever attempt to do couples counseling or therapy? Would you say that's a fair question? And then how would a narcissist typically respond to what the results of that was?
Okay. That's
If they even did it.
That's an excellent question. Excellent
Yeah.
question. Because if they come back and say, oh my gosh, yeah, she made a couple of appointments for us with this person, and that person didn't know what they were talking about. And, there was just so much that I could listen to, and then I just didn't want to do it anymore. So if they say that, they don't respect the profession. Okay. And then if they say, yeah, we went, but she just didn't want to change. And I couldn't do it, whatever. They'll usually cop out, in some way.
Right.
Or they'll say, well, she cheated on me, and and now remember, full-blown narcissists don't mind lying. They're okay with lying. If it means that there's a secondary gain for them, they're going to do it. So, they may tell you a sob story, get you thinking that that's really sad. So what I would say is, as you get to know other people in their lives, their friends and that kind of thing,
Right. Yeah.
because there could be other, you might catch them in a lie. And in a
Right.
lie, then okay, this person's not being completely truthful with me. That's why season the relationship, all
Yeah.
seasons.
So you got to listen and continue to listen to see if you're going to catch them in a lie. Now, while you're asking them about the counseling, what if they say, "Oh, we never tried it," or "I don't think it was any help or would have helped"? Now, how would they say it if they've never been to counseling and they didn't even try to reconcile through the way of therapy or counseling?
Well, they can give you many excuses. They can say, "Oh, I don't really like counseling," which is, some people
Yeah.
don't. Some people are just fearful of going to counselors. It doesn't have to be a narcissist. They just feel like if you go to a counselor, there's a stigma about it, that I must be crazy if I have to go to a counselor.
Right.
I think that's lifting. I think people realize today that
Oh, yeah.
our mental health is just as important as our physical health, and we need to be taking care of that, and our spiritual health. And so, I think that there's more people open to doing that. It's harder for a narcissist, though, to want to go for help, because, it's like I said, a lot of times I'll have a person come to me for couples counseling, and the narcissist will bow out because they don't really like that I am doing a little pushback in the sessions.
Right.
And so they'll come
Yes.
back with, well, since I know that it's really not me that's the problem, it's her or it's him, then why don't you just let them stay with you and get the counseling help? So I've had that happen, both
Oh.
a male narcissist and a female narcissist. And so and when they do that, then I feel like, well, you know what, I can help the client that is not the narcissist more, because just to kind of help them understand, this is what you will be dealing with, for the length of this relationship, unless some miracle happens and there's a total brain restructure. This person is probably going to be this way. So, you need to have support. So you need therapy support, you need friendship support, family support. The problem with the family and the friendship support is that the narcissist usually does not like for their partner to have very close friends or be very close with their families, oftentimes. There are some exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, that is usually the case.
Oh, wow. So that is interesting that you say that. So it's like that isolation that we talked about
Exactly.
in the previous episode. They like to isolate you. They want to make sure that you're basically with no support system and that they are the only one that you have to lean on.
Yes.
So it kind of gives them that ultimate advantage over you.
Exactly.
Okay. And then as far as so now you're with them and they have multiple relationships. Now, this is what I wanted to go into, and this may be a touchy area, is when it comes to the online dating, because I know that a lot of people are interested in, dating online. It's kind of hard depending on the job or what they do to meet people. So they go to the online space. So I wanted to know, when it comes to those avenues of seeking love, relationships, or finding a significant other, how dangerous can that be, and how many narcissists are you could potentially run into? You could find the love of your life, but then you can also run into a whole lot of narcissists as well. So how do you guard against that when you're navigating those spaces?
Yeah, I think that is important for the ones that I know that have been successful and now are married and even some have kids. Those people that have done the online dating thing, they're very careful to to get involved in one that does like a full comprehensive test. eHarmony is one that does that, where they do like a real personality profile and try to match you with somebody that thinks like you, and which is great. So actually the people that I know that have successful ones, I think three of the four really strong marriages that came that way, those were eHarmony marriages. And so plug out there for eHarmony.
Right, I know.
But I think it's because of that comprehensive profile that they do. And then, that will help.
We're not recommending it, but we're just saying in her experience, she has
exactly
some success with people she knows.
Yes, exactly. And so, I feel like that is a beginning. Like, just like any relationship, you might meet at a party. That's the beginning. You don't go from there to right away say, let's, move in together, or let's go get married. You give time for the relationship so that you can find out more about this person. And so then once you start to actually talk to this person, so online, I like it because there is not that face-to-face meeting yet. You're getting more in your information gathering.
And data gathering.
And I think that that's a great way for a person to really meet their life's partner. You're not wasting your time. You're learning about another human being and their life. And if they're, they think like you, then you're sharing information that's interesting to both of you. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And then, you don't waste time. Then when you start to go out and see them in public, then you are still not wasting time, because now you're moving into another phase of the relationship where you're going from just the intellectual and the learning of the personal, where do you work, that kind of thing. You're finding out the important things to them, and now you're going to step out now and maybe go for coffee or a meal together and see how much more the two of you get along, and is there a possibility here? So
and that's good, in all fairness, if the person's being upfront and telling you the correct information. But we do know with narcissists, and this is the thing we have to be careful about, especially if they've been married multiple times, they probably have gained this kind of insight into what has caused their previous relationships to fail. So they may even lie to try to get someone, deceive someone into getting into a relationship with them, and maybe just playing the game for a while, so that they can get that person reeled in. So let's speak to that as far as you know, I know we have some great stories of people that have been successful online dating, but then we also know there are people out there that lie, that make up profiles, that say one thing and it's obviously something else.
Mhm.
And then you're dating them. So I know there has to be some things that when you're dating that you have to look out for to make sure that one, what the person's actually saying on their profile is accurate. And two, when you're talking with them, even like this, that ways that you should be able to see if they're really being honest and forthcoming with information. And how do you detect that? How do you know, like, if the person's just saying what I want to hear? And like, if I like dancing, and let's say if I like Zumba or Latin dance, whatever it is, or line dancing, and the person is just pretending, oh, I like line dancing too. But then fast forward, you get into the relationship or maybe even to the marriage, all of a sudden you say you want to go line dancing, Latin dancing, or whatever. Now it's, oh, so what are you trying to do? Go to the club, or you're trying to cheat, or what is it? Then it's like this script gets flipped. And right. And now all of a sudden the thing that they were okay with before, now all of a sudden dancing. What do you mean you're going dancing? What do you mean you're gonna do this? Or so let's to that.
One thing that's important is being, well, first of all, praying that the Lord gives you good discernment, right?
Exactly.
That's definitely something that, you know, give me eyes, Lord, to see if I'm being, you know, tricked in some way or fooled in some way, because I don't want that. So I would say it's important to have those kinds of conversations, you know, early on. You know, how do you feel about a marriage? Let's just say, and so give that throw out hypothetical questions.
Yes.
Especially ones that you know have been problematic for you in the past with a narcissist. So the question is, okay, so I like line dancing. You say you like line dancing, but let's just say that we got married someday and you decided that you didn't feel like going line dancing. Are you okay with me going out with my friends to line dance? And if the answer is, oh no, when you're married, you don't do that kind of stuff, then you know, well, that's the kind of thing I enjoy doing. And if he's not going to go with me, then I don't think this is the person for me, because at least it's, you know, I'm with my girlfriends and I can go. I'm not looking to pick up anybody, but I'm looking to have fun. And he's not interested in letting me do that.
Well, and I've even seen this, you know, because I've seen even some women, and I mean, it's sad to say, but I've seen women going to church by themselves, and I'm in my mind thinking that they were a single woman, and they say, oh yeah, I'm married, and I'm like confused because I'm like, I have never seen your husband. And I'm trying to understand, like, so at some point they were dating, and this person had to have known that they were a person of faith. They were going to church, they were active, and maybe even were going with them just to play the part, to say, oh, you know, I'm going to appease them for right now because I want to, you know, get married to them. And then once you're married, then all of a sudden that stops. So,
and
you know,
happen.
Yeah, a person that's been through multiple marriages can say, oh, well, I've seen in the past when I stopped, you know, like this is what happened. So, or said that I wasn't into church, this is what happened. So since I really want this person, I'm going to pretend like I like going. And then once I've got, you know, once I'm married to them, and I'm just going to not go with them or even discourage them from going. So how do you speak to that?
Right. So they're trying to put their best foot forward while they're dating, but then after the marriage, they know they're not going to be doing that. They're just doing it because remember, now the narcissist is trying to paint an image. He's not worried about so much about painting an image right now in a dating relationship for the rest of the world to see. He's trying to build the image. So he's trying to get the girl. He's trying to get everything going so that it is a cool image to be looking at for the outsider. So right now, the image that he's painting is for the girl. He wants her to, or I should say for the guy too. They want the person to accept them, and they know the right thing to say. It's very true about the narcissist. They know what you want to hear.
Right. And that can be dangerous because, like you said, praying, discernment, really listening, hearing the inconsistencies in stories and maybe situations. And as far as with, you know, once again, I want to touch on one or two more things as far as with dating someone that that has been through multiple marriages. What kind of questions should you be asking with as far as their interaction with the previous exes, or like how it ended? Should you ask those questions? Should you be
well,
how far should you go?
I think you should be as candid about your questions as you can, much as you need to, so that you have peace about this situation you're in now with this person. What, like, a good question to ask is, in your first marriage, what do you think, your spouse would say was the number one reason why the marriage fell apart? Or the three top reasons the marriage fell apart?
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and maybe from their answers, they'll engage if they're not a narcissist, they'll probably engage truthfully, and
Right.
and what they might say is, well, she was, if it was a person that's not a narcissist, they might say, well, they said that I was married to the job, and I mean, a person that's a narcissist can also be married to the job, so there's other things you have to listen for, but
Yes.
I was married to the job, and she was right. I really did put too much, I made it too much of a priority, and I regret it. Hearing words like that, that's somebody I think that is able to empathize and admit that they were wrong, so that you hear a softer maybe thing. Now, granted, it could be that they were married to a narcissist, and so they might say to you, well, they had narcissistic tendencies. They tried to control me. I wasn't allowed to do this and this and this. And I knew that I had to, walk on eggshells to make them happy, and I was able to do it for just so long, and then I couldn't anymore. So so that's a bit of information that they're giving you, but you take that as truth or as a lie. You take that as, okay, this is information for me to keep in my back pocket now, and keep listening. What do their friends say about them? What do I hear other people saying to them? Are they, so it's just like a job. You go to a job, you're interviewing, you're being interviewed for a job, but you're also interviewing the job to make sure you're gonna want it, right? So in this case, you are finding out everything you can about this person to see, is this person future material for me? Or is this person somebody that, well, we're friends, but I don't, I don't.
You don't see it going any further than that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really good. I like that. I like that. So you just really need to listen, take information, put it in your back pocket, and just see if things come up, like recurring themes you see with friends, coworkers, or whoever, if you're hearing the same thing. Now, what about if they're always saying, pretty much it was always the other person's fault? Or how about the I like to call it the sin of omission. And where you omit the fact that you were even married. Now, how do you guard against that? Because if a person's a true narcissist, they could actually not even confess a fact that they were even married. So this is what I'm going to tell you. Like, if someone was married multiple times and they know that this person may not like the fact that I've been married 3 times, I'm just going to say I was only married 2 times. And then I'll come up with a story for why the first 2 didn't work out. But the one that maybe was really bad, I'm not going to even mention that one at all, because I don't even want to, because there's no way that I can basically lie my way out of that one. But they were the one at fault, and they can't really come up with an excuse to deceive the party that they're trying to date.
Right. And there's really no way to tell if a person is telling you the truth when they tell you how many marriages they've had. But I mean, social media, you can usually find out a lot just by looking at their social media. I mean, if you get that close to them where you're actually talking about things like that, you probably have already at that point, if both people have the same social media, then they probably have that information, visible. If if you're not sure, if there's a red flag, then you do more investigating like that. And then if you do wind up meeting their family, and their if they want to invite you to meet their family, so maybe they do have a strong family relationship, and maybe they're not a narcissist too, right? But you're trying to find out, because you don't, it's really the reason why you do this is not because you don't trust anybody, it's because you don't maybe trust yourself to pick the right person for yourself. Because how did I get duped before? I don't want to get duped again. And so you're trying to be really, really careful about the next one. And so it's smart. It's being careful. And I think that it's, it's your life that you're talking about. You want to have a good future. And so you're trying to, make sure that you're careful. And they're doing the same thing with you. They're checking you out, making sure that you're the person that they're going to like
Right.
long term. And so that's what it is about as far as the dating scene goes, is trying to find out, is this person good future material for me?
And it's interesting because I know just personally, just kind of speaking to it, it's not everyone posts everything on social media. Some people are really good of like omitting, once again, that omission information,
Yes.
getting information,
Mhm.
and basically having a profile and just taking it down and putting up a whole new one, just kind of starting over. So, like you said, that praying discernment, talking to family members, I like that. And even friends, and trying to see, touch on this. When you're dealing with a person that is a narcissist or potentially a narcissist, do you see a pattern of behavior? Like, so they have multiple marriages, multiple jobs, lived in multiple places.
That's not been a huge part in my experience.
Okay.
I've actually seen a lot more where they're actually in a marriage. Most of them, I would say, are in a marriage a pretty long time
Mm-hmm.
before the other person says, I've had enough.
I've had enough.
Although the narcissist is very good at blaming their spouse for their own affairs that they've had,
Right. Right.
that their spouse isn't doing or whatever. So they'll, blame shift. And so those marriages oftentimes will end, at a few years in, and then that person will move from marriage to marriage. I wouldn't say necessarily from location to location, though. That's not something that I've seen as a common thread anyway, in any of the ones that I've dealt with.
Right. Okay, so then it just depends. It depends on which one you run into. You have to kind of just look at those things. And
Mhm.
the reason why I bring up that, and just to kind of make our viewers aware, and our listeners aware, is that if someone is living in multiple places, it's easy to conceal things.
Oh,
It's easy to hide your identity, to make up this personality that seems favorable, but because there's so much moving around, it's hard to kind of pinpoint and track and look back at the history and details, because if you're going from job to job, you don't know enough people there to ask questions, or if they're moving from place to place, they're not rooted enough where they've been there long enough where you can ask questions. So, but that's something that we can, look at another, time. But it's just something that I just thought about, that it could be one of those rare situations that, even though it's not common, it could come up, and you just have to, like you said, ask questions, look at the
yes.
pattern of behavior, listen to them and what they're saying. They're blaming the ex for everything, and they did nothing wrong.
Right.
You may be dealing with a narcissist. So, Karen, this has just been such an amazing discussion. And listeners, like I said, make sure you're putting your questions, especially if you're on YouTube, put them in the chat. Make sure you are asking us questions so that we can, address them in another episode, and be able to answer your questions, help you get clarity, or at least help you feel like you're not losing your mind. We
Right.
want to make you feel sane, and know that it's not you. It is not you. These people are out here, and we don't want to bash them, but there is that level of manipulation and deception that's out there. And then, as far as being Christian centered and based, we don't want anyone to live in that kind of way and then live a lower quality of life, feeling low self-esteem and self-worth, and
Yes.
feeling like they're the problem when they're not. Because you're dealing with a person that, like we said, has had issues from childhood, that has developed into this narcissistic trait or personality that now you're having to deal with. And we want to help you so that you can live through it, if you have to live with them, or make your decision to move on. And what else did you have to add, Karen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that some people, they struggle with the idea, well, I made vows, so I cannot move on. because I've made these vows, and this person, although they are abusing me and hurting me on a pretty constant basis, I don't feel the freedom to leave. And I respect that, because that is what that person feels that they have to do and should do in their relationship with the Lord. That's the way that they believe. And so not saying that they're wrong for not wanting to leave them permanently or divorce them. But in some cases, I do believe that you can be enabling the narcissist to continue in their poor behavior by not putting your foot down and creating some type of a boundary for yourself, so that they understand, I will, they're in marriage, you have to have some things that are spoken or unspoken, that you say, I will not tolerate this type of behavior in my marriage. And so that goes for any marriage.
Right.
So if there's behavior going on and you're expected to take it day in and day out, and you do feel like a doormat, but you say, no, I gotta keep it, I gotta keep doing it, then I don't believe that the Lord really wants you. Yes, the Lord does hate divorce, and he says that in the Bible, but he also hates for his daughter or his son to be abused. And so I think that you would be okay if you would to make a decision that you would put a boundary up and say, okay, well, I'm going to be moving back in with my parents or I'm going to be moving on my own until I know that you've gotten help. There are people that specialize in treating narcissists. I do not. I work with the family and the loved ones of narcissists. However, the people that want to treat narcissists and help them, some are very successful. So you would want to go to somebody like that. So I would tell, a client of mine, I would say, well, you tell your spouse that if you really are serious about wanting to put up a boundary, then you tell them what your plan is. And is the plan that you're leaving? Most of the time, the narcissist won't leave. They're like, you want to do that, you leave. It's my house. So it's usually not easy to just pick up and make a change and say, okay, you go because you're the trouble. He doesn't believe he's the trouble, or she doesn't believe she's the trouble. So you've got to, be ready to make a plan that you're the one that's going to do the moving on. And I'm ready to come back once I know that you've had some therapy, and I need to be able to meet your therapist and have some reports back that you are working on things. And if you're not willing to do that, then we will be indefinitely separated, because I do not want to tolerate this type of behavior anymore. You have done enough to me, and I'm ready to put my foot down and take care of myself now. That's a hard thing for the person that's with the narcissist, because they've been so busy spending all their time worrying about what the narcissist wants, that they're not used to worrying about what they want. They basically lose their own identity. So now they're like trying to take control back. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's an important thing to do.
Well, I love that, Karen. I'm so glad we had this discussion today, and we're going to continue to touch on this subject for the narcissist. I'm asking for a friend. So just make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell some people that you know that are going through this. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything to share this. Tell someone about it, because you never know. You may help them, and they can get some insight that maybe they weren't listening to you, but they can hear what we have to say, and they don't feel like they're being judged. It's a judge-free zone, so we want to be able to help.
That's
well,
right.
Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode, and we appreciate you listening. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in.